Hey everyone, I have a new video coming out in a couple of days, and I just have to make my way through some YouTube stuff. It's actually sitting up online, but I need to get some copyright stuff cleared and, make sure that it looks right and all the other stuff. It's actually not the first time I've had it up on YouTube, but I think this time I've got all the moving pieces nailed down. So that's all good. And I'm pretty excited to have that content coming. And I've got a couple other things that I'm actively working on right now. So it should be pretty good. And I'm going to try and uh, not get into too much trouble, I think, in trying to say I want to get one of these out every month or so. Yeah. I know you're supposed to do this every week, but it's not always the easiest thing to do. There's a second thing I also want to talk about. It's kind of crazy out there. People are angry. And yeah, there's always trolling that goes on online. And I know that we're dealing with a lot of crazy pressure right now. I mean, politics is insane and the stakes are really high. There's been a lot of work issues. People have been just plain old needing more work these days. So they've been on edge, and they've been on edge for a lot of reasons. And I just recently, over the last few days, had a couple of people just really come out and rip on me. I mean, it wasn't just the one flip comment and that was the end of it. These people just went crazy. I mean, they wrote diatribes and they're telling me that I don't know what I'm doing. They criticized me for having a reel with lots of smooth camera movement in it. I was like, what? Like, what kind of a criticism is that? You have too much smooth camera movement in your reel? Well, that's because I criticized a product. And I'm not going to mix any bones about this. I don't like these body rigs with arms that come up over your head. And there's quite a few of them out there. Have I tried them? Yes. Have I made friends with them? Absolutely not. They were stupid. They were clumsy. They got caught on stuff. They were just plain dangerous. They didn't improve the shots that I was getting. And it was another 10 or 15 pounds worth of camera on you. And I've heard this argument like, well, it shifts the weight down to your hips and your lower back. Well, guess what? If you got a camera up on your shoulder, the weight's still on your lower back. It goes down. And when you've got one of these rigs on, not only that, you've added another 10 or 15 pounds to your camera package. So your knees, your ankles, your hips, everything down from your waist down is taking more weight. Yeah. So I don't get this. I'm not friends with these rigs. I know some people who love them, and if you can make one of these things work for you, great. It also brought up, and I saw this comment probably twice. Well, how do you deal with having a camera up for 2 to 4 hours at a time? You don't. No, you just flat out don't. That's an absolutely crazy, stupid, inhumane way of working. You should not have a camera up for 4 hours straight, period. What this says, and I just recently worked on a shoot that people would have categorized as run and gun. And I'm just going to call it. It was bullshit. It was the producer trying to cram 2 to 3 days worth of shooting into one day. Just go, shoot it, don't light it. Sound was the only thing they cared about. As long as the sound is clean, the rest didn't matter. Spray and pray coverage, just shoot. Interviews that just went on and on. Things that, like say in the TV business, 3 questions and done, 5 minutes. They had someone that went on for 15 or 20 minutes and they would ask the same question, and it wasn't finessing a better answer out. It was just, they just went on and on and on. And as a producer and a director, you need to control your talent. Tell them, no, stop. Editing doesn't want to deal with this. Nobody wants to deal with this. When you got to get a lot of material in, the most important thing is to keep your shooting on point. Be organized and be on point. And it's great if you're the kind of talent who can get everything done in pretty much one take. It's great if you are good with asking questions, but to keep asking the same questions over and over again, it really speaks to a fundamental thing that I see today, and that's that younger people coming up, they just don't have the same background that folks who've been in this industry for a few decades have. They haven't worked with, say, film, real film, where when you hit that trigger, you're kissing $75 a minute away or more. You can't spray and pray. Even if you shot 16, that was still pretty pricey to shoot. So they got in, they got what they needed, and they got it done. You shot an interview. If you rolled the whole roll out, 11 minutes, and that was your interview. So you better get it in 11 minutes. And if you had money to burn, you might go into a second or third roll. But there was this no 2 hour sit down interview stuff that didn't exist. But if you were going to do that, okay, great. You shot a wide shot. Now let's shoot close ups. Each of those takes counts. And if you changed your camera angle for every single shot, well, all of a sudden, even though every take wasn't perfect, as long as you didn't have a stumble or a mistake in the same spot, it would piece together just fine because you were going to go to those close ups or those alternate angles. You had a non sync shot, you had a cutaway, you had stuff to cover your edits because if you're thinking as a shooter, you knew these things. It was easy to put this stuff together. So it's discipline, it's focus, it's a whole skill set that I see missing in a lot of people these days who haven't been exposed to productions that were run on a tighter and more organized basis. But I want to get back to the hate thing. I had two people online just absolutely rip into me, besides criticizing the fact that I had too many smooth camera moves and that shaky cam was cool because that's how everybody is shooting right now. And that's kind of a cyclical thing. I mean, this comes and goes. That if you don't have shaky cam, you can't portray the character's anxiety, fear, whatever. And it's like, there's over 100 years of cinema in which that was accomplished without shaky cam. But that comes down to, again, trying to cram content to shoot it faster and faster. You know, if you don't care about your framing, don't care about where the camera is placed, you're not thinking about having a dolly move with a reveal or it hides away or how it transitions between shots and scenes. You know, you're just whipping the camera around. That's I get the argument about what this film language is supposed to be, but I think you also have to analyze it in the practical reality of production just trying to get their content and to get shots done as quickly, cheaply, and simply as possible. And they actually really don't care as much as you think about what it really looks like. I mean, I hate going to a big dollar feature and the camera's just violently flying around and you just can't see what's even going on. It's like blah, 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 blah. And somebody's laying on the floor. That's just not right. I mean, I'm not one to sit here and advocate for glorifying or making violence a good thing or to in any way glorify it. There are other ways of shooting it. And I remember very early in my career, I shot a very violent scene actually, and did it by sitting on a wide shot, a locked off wide shot, because the character that met their demise was just sitting there completely oblivious to the bad character coming up behind them and cracking their skull open with a pipe. It was a pretty brutal scene, and we sold it not just with that simplicity, but with some amazing sound effects. It just absolutely made the audience flinch and go, oof, every single time we played that. I mean, it was amazing reaction, and yet it was shot very simply, very cleanly, and in like 2 takes. What happened to civility? It's like, okay, we disagree on this, and we can say why we disagree on this. That's fine. But why is it going into personal attacks? Why are you trying to say that somebody's a stupid idiot who has no experience, who doesn't know what they're doing, that their reel looks dated because they've only got 3 decades worth of material to pull from? So, can you show some celebrities from a few years back that are still recognizable and popular? Sure. Why wouldn't you put them on there? Because there's a lot to be said about having experience, about having worked with famous people, celebrities in difficult situations. So, that was the other point. And then I think to kind of bring it all home, the two people who really gave me these criticisms, neither of them had a website, neither of them had a reel, neither of them had very much experience. What I did see was a lot of jealousy, a lot of frustration, a lot of anger, and I said something that violated their YouTube creator, God, whatever. One of them gave me reference to some YouTube guy, and I took a quick look at it, and I'm not naming names here, but he was kind of parroting what other YouTube creators have done. Now, I know some of this is algorithm. What's popular? Like why I'm quitting YouTube. Yeah, okay, that was a thing a few months ago. There are a few YouTube channels that are popular, and they're all kind of saying and doing the same thing. A couple of them are okay. When you look at some of these YouTube channels, just kind of be cognizant of what are they showing, what are they talking about, and why are they saying the same thing that somebody else on another channel is also saying. It's kind of the same rehashed content. Be respectful. It's okay to disagree. It's okay to have reasons why you disagree. But don't sit there and criticize someone, especially since you went through the trouble of finding their website and their reels and all this other stuff on the internet, so they kind of have a clue, and then come back and say you're an idiot, you don't know what you're talking about, you have no experience. No. Just no. With all that's going on in the world right now, it's time to be kinder to each other. We could really use that right now. Think before you type. And my videos will be out in a couple days.